Now, joining us to discuss this live is Dr. David Matsanga. He joins in from Nairobi in Kenya. Good evening to you, Dr. Matsanga, and thanks for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
Good evening, viewers across the continent of Africa, and I'm sorry for the technical delay due to the good weather down here in Mombasa.
Yeah, these things happen. Now, Dr. Matsanga, why is Amnesty International calling for renewal of the arms embargo in South Sudan? What do you make of this?
Because the fighting has erupted. There are killings taking place right now in South Sudan, and it is not very advisable for anybody to add arms, more arms. The country has not stabilized. There are more rebel groups mushrooming, opening up. There are many other militia groups that are teaming up with old groups to kill more people in the United States, in the inner states of South Sudan. The peace there is very fragile. The international community has not actually helped South Sudan to permanently get peace. So adding their arms will cause more harm to the people and to the region. So I fully support the embargo, because you don't know where these arms could fall in, whose hands it will go to.
Okay. Now, Dr. Matsanga, one of the provisions of the arms embargo on South Sudan is the attainment of human rights benchmark. Where would you say South Sudan is today in terms of human rights?
There are no human rights there. I mean, human rights in South Sudan went a long time ago. You can see since the war started between Dr. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir, the killings have gone on, unabated. The international community has watched. There is one problem that has happened about South Sudan, that the agreement was wrongly done. Any agreement, any negotiator like me, I would not call the South Sudan agreement, peace agreement by IGAD as an agreement. There is no accountability. And I've stated to the people of East Africa, the region, the government, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, President Museveni, President Salva Kiir, and other presidents of IGAD, that until they do what we call accountability, agenda number 5 is accountability always. Let's have a hybrid tribunal. There were about 384,000 people killed, and you have no accountability for them. And then you come back to make a political peace agreement where you are giving political positions of the first vice president, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth vice president. How many vice presidents are you going to have? When people want accountability, they should have started with accountability. For me, my suggestion is let the United Nations, let the East African community, the IGAD and the AU form an international hybrid tribunal to try those commanders who are again recruiting militias and are going to kill people like the way they killed people 6-7 years ago. If we don't put a tribunal, I'm sorry, and I'm telling you, the human rights records in South Sudan is going to be worse, and it is worse as we speak now.
Now, Dr. Matsanga, according to a report by Transparency International, the government of South Sudan has failed to end conflict-related sexual violence and protection for the survivors. Is the government complicit in some of these things?
Compensate them with what? With saliva or with water, with stones? The government is bankrupt. It doesn't have the money.
No, is the government complicit? Are they in on this? And are government soldiers, are government forces part of those committing this crime? Yes.
Part of the massacres, yes. You can't say no, because it looks like the government, but because where do these groups come from? I think there is a problem here that we are not speaking the truth about South Sudan. There is a new rebel group that has been formed in the central equatorial region that is disrupting. And then there are other groups that are being formed towards the Sudan border, the Sudan, Khartoum, and then Ethiopia, then the middle. Then we have a problem in Abyei, that peninsula. There's still peacekeeping forces there. Now, when you say government to be part of companies, they can't. There is no government almost there. The government is in Juba. The government is not even in every place of South Sudan. The President Salva Kiir and the 5 vice presidents control Juba, and they get the little resources. But I want to be on the side of the South Sudanese and talk about funding South Sudan and funding the peace process, funding the recommendations of the peace that was negotiated is what has become a bottleneck, because the soldiers went to internment areas to assemble for DDR. They didn't have the money to hold the soldiers there. So some of the soldiers left. So the South Sudan government, the UN must not just do lip service. The Americans should not just come to put embargoes. The Americans should pump in money to the government and say, we want to hold the peace that we have got. And that has not been done. And I want to be on this one to be very balanced, that South Sudan, even if you say you temporarily have ceasefire, how are you going to hold the ceasefire when the soldiers want food? The soldiers want money, want salary. The government cannot pay the salary. That's why they are complicit to some of the crimes that are being committed.
Now, finally, Dr. Matsanga, how effective are these sanctions? Would you say sanctions and embargo, arms embargo, are the right way to go? Because even with the sanctions, we'll still have incidents of skirmishes and attacks.
Sanctions in third world countries kill the ordinary people. They don't kill the government. President Salva Kiir can come to Nairobi and have what he wants, but the ordinary Sudanese will not have what he wants. The international community should think out of this question of sanctions. They should not talk about sanctions all the time.
What would you recommend?
They should engage and pump in money. They should engage the people. They should engage Dr. Riek Machar. They should engage General Salva Kiir, put them together and pump in money. You cannot be talking to a government that cannot pay its employees. It cannot pay its soldiers. So the international community, especially America, that has actually interest in this region, is the one playing us these games. Why they playing the games? The UN is playing us games. Why are they playing games to the people of South Sudan? The government in South Sudan does not have money, my brother. It doesn't have money even to pay its civil servants. Why can't we help and engage instead of putting sanctions? Yes, don't give them the arms, but give them the money. Give them the money to run the government. And then also put corruption on a red flag. There's plenty of corruption in South Sudan. That the little oil, that the money that they get out of oil disappears because it is in debt. It's a country that has no money to service its own internal and external debts. So you cannot expect peace coming out. Any analyst in Africa who says that peace will come in South Sudan when they have not pumped in money to maintain that peace has not gone to school.
Thank you very much, Dr. David Matsanga. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time and insights.
Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga.